back, and we back. Zeus P, Tank Jew. Let the light in, man. It's the 2-hour lunch break, dog. I'm locked in. So turn your speakers up a notch and grab the white gin. And when I'm on the road to the office or the crib, it's Big Zeus, Ain't Jew, the ones I wanna hear. This is that 2-hour lunch break live from Lady Bird J. Late. Coming to you live, putting on for the city. This is that 2-hour lunch break live from Lady Bird J. Late.
And it's coming home to Texas. It's coming home all the way to Austin, Texas, baby.
All right, man, we are back with the first edition of season 5 of the 2-hour lunch break podcast, a podcast for Austin, from Austin. We're back at home base, Dawa Studios in East Austin, Texas. I'm Trotwood Zeus, one half of the 2-hour lunch break podcast, and I got my co-host
Saint, and we got a special guest in the building, a community advocate, rich with diverse and rich background and information, an advocate for mental health rehabilitation, social activity, chief of staff for the First Austin District, acting president of the Man in Me nonprofit organization dedicated to fostering healthy fatherhood, and the president of the BPA, or Black Professional Alliance Empowerment Professionals, which is fostering an inclusive community in the workspace. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Mr. Eric L. Byrd in the building. How you doing today, sir?
I'm good. I appreciate y'all.
Man, we appreciate you for coming. Appreciate you for taking the time to chill with us, man. It's been a great experience, great conversation thus far. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited to have a conversation with you on this floor today. So talk a little bit about your journey and what got you here and your introduction.
Yeah, so, it's always hard to talk about yourself.
Yeah.
But my journey is a little unconventional, especially when you look at where I am and where I was or came from. I'm going to start at the beginning.
Yeah.
So I'm born in East Austin, born at Brack. So I was born in District 1, raised in District 1, right off of MLK, Cavalier Park, 2-4.
Oh, wait.
Hey, all right, Texas.
So went to school all throughout East Austin, ended up at LASA, which is, to me, it was LBJ.
Yes.
Because that's where my parents met, LBJ.
Right.
My friends were in LBJ, and I was one of the only few Black students in LASA.
Right.
So I didn't feel like I was in LASA at all. I was quiet. I never talked in class, never spoke, because the students we didn't share a culture. And so since we didn't share a culture, not much conversation was to be had. We didn't have the skills to cross cultural boundaries at that age. I ain't gotta explain that. But, so from there, Texas State, and I thought I was gonna be a dentist.
Okay.
The only reason is because my dentist was a Black man, and he said, "Oh, you should be a dentist." He said, "You make a lot of money." I'm like, "Cool,
dentist,
that works.
yeah, right.
That sounds good. I could make a lot of money." So I went bio major initially. I needed money. I was broke. I grew up. Cavalier was my grandma's stay. That's what we claim is where your grandma stay.
Yeah.
But I grew up in the projects and trailer parks all around Austin. So I had no money. I went to college with nothing. And so I was a referee for Texas State intramurals.
Okay.
Getting $12 an hour.
Right.
The game is only an hour.
Yeah.
So I'm getting $12. I'm doing 2 games a week. So I'm getting $24 a week. Just mad. I was the angriest referee you would ever see. I wouldn't even argue with you. But so then my friend said, I make about, $15 an hour, and I babysit kids. I'm like, I can do that.
Yeah.
I can do that.
Yeah.
But really, she made like 7. She was counting like her overtime and all this stuff. And it was really at a treatment center for kids.
Oh, okay.
And so I started working with kids who, they were from Philly, DC, really tough places, Chicago, Alaska, and people like Alaska. How was Alaska tough? But if you think about it, they don't have much to do. Right? Especially in the cold winter months. They're inside a lot. The kids, there's especially with the native tribes, there's a lot of disenfranchisement and a lot of neglect for their needs and resources. And so a lot of the native children would get into gangs and drugs and alcohol and things like that. So we had to, try to help them rehab and things, man. So it was tough, but I loved it.
Yeah.
My boys were, they changed my life. And so I changed my major. from biology to psychology.
Okay.
And went down that path. So I started working with kids with autism, brain injuries, children in CPS care. And that kind of started me on the path of service. And so, yeah, since the age of 19, I've been serving. And I realized soon after that I can't do anything else.
Yeah.
You know, I tried to sell cars. I tried to, you know, do things that make money.
Yeah.
You know, but if I do something that makes money, it has to have a component of service, or I won't be fulfilled. So for me, purpose, you know, is in service. Yeah, it's the most important thing.
Gotcha. So I was gonna say, so let's talk Black Professional Alliance, right?
Yeah.
So if you can talk about the mission behind, you know, BPA, and even what led you to even creating that, or like what was the spark that started that?
I can't even take credit for that. BPA is a organization that's about 14 years old. It's 12 years. It's 10 years old. It'll be our 10-year anniversary this year. On paper, you know, as a nonprofit, but it's about 14 years old. It was started by Roger Davis. Roger Davis is the founder, and he asked the question that a lot of us ask even to this day, which is, where are all the Black professionals? You know, or where are all the Black people in general? So he started having professional networking events and bringing all the Black professionals together. And from there, they said, let's start a nonprofit. And so it became a hub, an umbrella organization for Black professional organizations. So Black firefighters, the Black lawyers, the Black physicians, Black nurses, they all operated under BPA. And so during the time where I was Chief of Staff for District 1, they reached out and they said, we would like for you to become the VP. It was Winston Williams, who was the president at that time. He said, I want you to be my VP. And so joined as a VP. About a year and a half later, Winston had to go take care of family back home. So I became president. And my mission at that time, I was given the mission by Winston. He said, fix the problem of, you know, we have this transient Black population that comes in and then they just leave. You know, they come in for work and then they eventually leave. How are we going to fix? How can BPA help solve that? And so I decided we should open our doors to more than just organizations. We should open them to individuals. Not everybody joins organizations. The majority of people don't. But by opening our doors to individuals, we would be opening our doors to the 70,000 Black professionals who are in and around Austin. So that's what we started to do. Rebranding, making sure we're modern, we're catching the eye of the people, and then eventually creating a platform and membership models that would allow people to join. So if you get, let's say we get, not even 10, let's say we get 1%, you know, so we get 700 Black professionals. That's a lot of people to manage. You don't want all those people in the same room. Right? And so we had to, I figured we should categorize them into professional categories. So tech, education, health and wellness, etc. So our first affinity group was tech, and we launched that in November. Happened to be around the time Afrotech was hosting their last thing here, and everybody knew they were leaving. And so we kind of slid into that gap. And, you know, there's a KXAN article about it, which was really cool. But yeah, we want to provide spaces for Black professionals to collaborate, to get together, to share peer-to-peer learning, empowerment, you know, teach each other what's around the corner. You know, you know, each one teach one. So people who are more seasoned in that field can, you know, go to the newer ones and be like, you probably don't want to study that. You probably want to study this because that's what's coming up. Or don't work there. Or don't do that. You know, so.
That makes sense. Yeah. So tell me a little bit, how has your background in mental health and social advocacy helped you as a leader when approaching issues such as becoming the president?
That's a good question, man. Never really thought of that. I think the biggest part is growing up. I think we all have these, I like to think to myself, the hood lied to us. It told us that certain behaviors and certain thought processes were the way to go. A lot of times protecting ourselves. And so I had to unlearn a lot of things. I had to learn empathy. I had to learn patience, especially working with kids and babies. Babies with autism. Funnest job you'll ever have, but you have to have a lot of patience. So what it taught me was to see perspectives outside of my own self, whereas my upbringing only taught me to see my own perspective because it's a survival tactic. You have to focus on self in order to get by. But with mental health, being exposed to the world of mental health teaches you to broaden that perspective and to be empathetic and caring and a passionate advocate for those who are disempowered.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So I was gonna say, so let's talk about you becoming the chief of staff for District 1, right? So I know, doing some research on you, I know you came into that position during a really chaotic time. You got to think about COVID. You got to think about all the civil unrest that came when George Floyd was murdered. Those were a lot of different challenges all at the same time.
Yeah.
And what are some of the key challenges that you faced, and how were you able to navigate all that at the same time?
Yeah, great question. First thing to set the stage, it was during COVID, when COVID first popped off, so we were all on lockdown. So I wasn't even in the office to talk to my peers or learn from them directly. Everything was all virtual, right? Second thing is, there's still people out there who were suffering. And now I'm responsible for those people. When I initially, because I moved from working directly with kids in foster care. So I had a house full of 20 kids, and then 5 more kids in another building. And I decided to take the job because I said I can affect a larger number of people, 50,000 people. But then when COVID hit, it became another type of responsibility. It wasn't like I'm just going to be doing laws every now and then, or helping to influence policy every now and then. Now it's people are hungry, people don't have jobs. It's an emergency situation. And so that was the biggest challenge, was connecting to people when you're not supposed to be connecting to people. Moving fast when the city moves slow. And getting through all the bureaucratic tape, and then just figuring out how the city works at the same time, because I'm new there. But luckily they were very supportive. The city was very supportive. The office was very supportive. And then the community showed up. That was a time, I'm not sure if people are really aware, but community organizations, nonprofits, they really showed up. Shout out to 10,000 Fearless. They were our arms and our eyes and ears out there. They helped us conduct a community survey, so we knew exactly what the needs were in specific areas, like specific low-income housing and things like that that were in District 1. And so, we had to use the people to help us get where we couldn't, because it would have took us months to even move that fast. Because the city is just, checks and balances and all those things. But so I'm really, really grateful for the people.
That's what's up. And in response to that, just to piggyback off that question, can you give us an example or an initiative that you spearheaded or assisted with during that pandemic or civil unrest that may have taken place in Austin?
That was a tough time. That was a time for mostly emergency response. One thing we did do that I'm proud of, that the nation as a whole took on after that, was not many people may know, but the city of Austin declared Juneteenth a city holiday prior to it being a national holiday.
Correct.
Yeah, so that was something that we did in the D1 office that we spearheaded and we pushed forward. Just making it that. So I'm pretty proud of that.
Big ups.
Yeah.
Big ups.
Okay, so I know, looking into you doing our research, it seems like you're like a jack of all trades, right? Amongst all these positions that you participate in, all these things you do, you also have a consulting practice, right? So I think it's vision, innovation, and management. That's right. So how does vision, innovation, and management, how does that contribute to driving change in areas like equity and affordable housing and things of that nature?
Yeah, first off, the name Vision, Innovation, and Management, I know it's a mouthful, I'm saying it myself.
Like Vim.
Vim, right? Vim, I'm shifting over to Vim, but it's I pulled it from the E-Myth. And so I know a young lady, she has a company, and this is a shout out to 54 Thrones in Houston. Her mom was actually a teacher of mine at Norman Elementary here. But she taught in the next classroom, but we was all family. And so she created this amazing business that uses products that are directly sourced from Africa.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
And
Wow.
creates skincare and beauty products and things like that. And they just dropped a few more products this year. So constant development.
Yeah.
And,
It's Black African soap.
I was getting ready to
Soap.
say, yeah.
yeah, you know, they just dropped the soap last year, man.
That's
And so she went on Shark Tank and she got
Dope.
Okay.
her and Mark Cuban are like this.
Yeah.
You know, been on Good Morning America like twice now. So a couple years ago, a few years back, pre-pandemic, I hit her up and I said, "What book are you reading?" And she said, "I'm reading The E-Myth." And The E-Myth is it's the entrepreneurial myth. And it's about the different levels of being an entrepreneur, the different types. So we all have a specific type. We all have multiple types, you know, but we all excel in one area. Right. And so there's the visionary, who's normally what people associate with the business. You're the face, you know, you're the Steve Jobs, right?
Yeah.
You're the voice. And then there's the manager or systems person. That's the person who can take the vision and get to the end result. And then you have the technician. The technician are the people usually who have one specific set of skills or one specific skill type. They can write really well, they can code, they can fry really, really good chicken, right? And so
We need that chicken.
we
Right,
need
yeah,
that
yeah,
chicken.
yeah.
We need all of it,
Right,
right?
right,
But
right.
just because you fry good chicken and everybody's like, oh, you should become a cook
Yeah,
because
right.
you fry really good chicken, right? It
Doesn't mean
not
you should,
necessarily,
yeah,
right?
right.
Because you
I
don't
get
know
you.
how to create systems. You don't know how to do the management, and you may not have a vision for how to expand.
Right.
So you really need all three of those operating in different capacities, right?
agree.
So vision, innovation, and management, that to me encapsulates my skills in those areas: the vision, the innovation, and the management. Because I think I'm highest on the management level, but then I'm second highest in vision. I'm close to it, and then on the technician side, I'd rather hire that out. Just because I can do a little bit, but I'd rather hire it out.
I respect that. I respect
Yeah.
that.
So the way that I use that, and I guess the question was for like advocacy. And,
Yeah.
So just like I said, I can't do anything unless my passion is behind it, unless I'm helping people, because I'm just not motivated like that. And so I've been fortunate enough to take on projects to address child welfare, to work closely with organizations that are addressing advocacy issues. So the unhoused situation, transportation, and different things. And so just being able to work in environments and on projects that I love and projects that help people and make things better for everyone. I've just been fortunate enough to do that. So
That's what's up.
Yeah.
That's what's up. And I know you've been echoing time and time again about just having a passion and connection to your work and your craft.
Yeah.
So I was just curious, like in your consulting work, what strategies have you employed to make effective addressing system issues or concerns or problems that may come about?
Yeah, so that's a good question. Y'all got some good questions.
We appreciate you.
Yeah,
We appreciate you.
So strategies, I think being people-centered first.
Yes.
You got to ask the people who are going through it. So whoever has the experience, if it's a woman issue, you ask women. If it's an issue affecting the unhoused, you ask the people who are unhoused. So just really making sure that you don't make it about yourself, because then it waters it down and it makes it diluted. Whatever effect you're going to have, whatever impact or work you're going to do is going to be diluted by your own personal goals and preferences and biases. So you ask that person who's going through the thing first and foremost. So and then I guess looking at the whole picture, I think I just personally I see connections. I think that's what makes me a good systems person, is I see connections sometimes between things that don't seem connected. And then if you can draw those lines, sometimes you may have a solution there.
Gotcha.
So focusing on the people and then pulling things in. I think everything is connected as far as like our knowledge base, right?
Right.
There are certain laws that govern everything, and so if you can use that to kind of figure out the problem, I think you can always find a solution.
Got it. So I was gonna say, so this next question is a big, you know, it definitely piqued my interest as, you know, the fact that, you know, Saint and I were both dads. You know, we both are, you know, we have the wives. The wives are over here off camera.
Shout out to the
right?
wives.
We got the kids, all that stuff. And so, you know, looking into you, I noted that you are the acting president of The Man in Me, right? I know it's a nonprofit dedicated to, you know, fatherhood and, you know, promoting, you know, strong, you know, thriving families, right?
Right.
So, you know, what exactly, how were you able, like, what initiatives does The Man in Me use to, you know, foster that mission?
Shout out to Isaac Rowe. He's the founder and executive director of Man in Me. I've never met a harder working man. He does his full time. He does his dad thing, and then he goes out to pour into other fathers and other things too. He served on a boards and commissions for the city of Maynard. I mean, he's done a lot, and so always working. I just talked to him today, matter of fact. And so, yeah, man. I'm sorry, I lost the question. Just give Isaac.
Now I was gonna say, what initiatives does the organization use to foster that mission?
So it's many initiatives. One of my favorite is like Daddy-Daughter Hair Care Day.
Hey,
okay.
Yeah. So I don't have any kids, man. But my goddaughter, you know, is like the closest thing. And so I took her out there. She has autism, and so I was just trying to figure out, you know, what works for her. You know, like, okay, I don't want to hurt her.
Right.
You know, and all the fathers in there were trying to, a lot of you know, unless they do it regularly, they were trying to figure out the same thing. Like, okay, what do I do here? But, you know, Man and Me partnered with a great organization, the salon, and they helped us. They gave us tips, and, you know, it's a moment of pride. You know, you can do something like that.
Yeah,
Your
for
daughter
sure.
can feel, you know, proud of herself and happy about the way she looks, and you did that.
Yeah,
exactly. As a dad, it's nurturing in a different way, because fathers normally nurture and protect in a
Very
specific
different.
set of
Right,
ways,
right.
But it's a different way. So that felt really good. And then Daddy and Me dance was really cool too. The kids just going out there dancing, you know, doing their thing. But other than that, Man and Me does a lot of peer-to-peer learning and instruction, father to father.
Okay.
And a lot of like, we had a mental health initiative. We partnered with BetterHelp last year. So fathers got some reduced price or free therapy. You know, so just trying to do what we can. Isaac is the genius behind it. And so he's constantly trying to innovate ways, and he's been doing it for about 14 years too. So he's seen it all. He's seen everything. You know, he's had to, you know, experience a lot of different situations, and he uses the totality of that knowledge to innovate and create new programs. So
That's amazing. Yeah, we were gonna actually talk about some of the success stories, but that right there touched me right there. I want to do my baby's hair. So what inspires you in your current role as the president of BPA? And also, what are kind of your key objectives or initiatives that you're trying to push forward?
Yeah, what inspires me is just the fact that we're leaving Austin. Our population is declining, and we're not represented in C-suites and higher levels of corporations. And we are highly capable, but we're not always recognized.
Right.
So that's what inspires me. And so BPA, shout out to, of course, Roger Davis again, Kitty McLeod, my vice president. You know, we are pushing to really, right now, we're trying to reach out our branches and figure out what works. We're a startup again. I saw a chart one time, and I think it was from Mission Capital, but an organization starts. It was like the lifeline of an organization. Organization starts, and then it grows, and then there's it kind of plateaus, right? And then it kind of tapers down and dies, you know, unless it goes back to being a startup and it learns again, and then it can go back to the growth phase.
Okay.
So BPA went back to being a startup, and we went back to the growth phase. So that's where we are now. We're trying to figure out what works best for the people. What do people enjoy most? So we have surveys. We're asking people, like, did you enjoy that event? What events do you want to see?
Right.
So we're really following the will of the people right now, in addition to trying to create ecosystems that are industry-based, the affinity groups that are in people-specific industries. And so we're just really doing a lot of listening and learning and trying and listening and learning and trying. So yeah, we have a few things coming up this year. Our Black in Tech group has an event coming up next month, just a coffee meetup in June. We have a couple things we were working on. We were working on a health and wellness partnership with Black physicians. And then we have in May a housing innovation summit.
Okay.
So the idea behind that is that right now affordability is affecting everybody.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And the housing market is what it is.
Right.
And so, the idea was, what are innovative strategies through technology, policy, practice that are creating more affordability and making it easier for people to purchase homes or live, rent, what have you. So we're looking at things like 3D printed houses. We're looking at things like different laws and practices that are put into place, nonprofits that support either through subsidies or, what have you, different practices. So we're looking at innovative strategies, and we're trying to get everybody in the same room and talk about different things. Working on a partnership to include students in that. We're very close to locking that down for this conference, but we'll be announcing at this conference, and it'll go the next few months into the fall. But having students create innovative strategies and present them to folks in kind of a competition type way.
Nice.
So that's only Q2.
Yeah, we got a
We
long
still
way to
got
go.
the rest of the. We have about 30 events scheduled for the rest of the year. Wow. Maybe just under, because we had to, we've cut some off.
Right.
And they're all different. We have the Black Philanthropist event. There's 2.0. We had one last year. So we're looking at what is philanthropy, asking Black philanthropists, what is it and how they do it and why is it important, giving money to Black organizations, giving time. And then, we have our 10-year anniversary also coming up in the fall as well. So we're going to do an event then, and it's going to be a networking mixer / awards / fundraising, and we're just going to try to give people a place to collaborate, network, do those things. So
Gotcha. Okay, so I'm curious, right? So I know being the president of BPA, you've gotten a chance to kind of get a peek behind the curtain, so to speak, as far as what it is to be a Black professional, not even just in Austin, but in general, right? So, and I'm asking you to be candid right now. So, in your opinion, what do you think are some of the biggest challenges that Black professionals face, and what can organizations like BPA do to address some of those concerns?
Yeah. That's a great question too. I think one of the biggest challenges, and we were kind of talking about it prior to the, it starting, but when you know the look that you get, right? We all know the look, right? Yep. Have you ever been in a situation or in a different place that you traveled and you didn't get the look? Like to a different country or anything like that?
No, I have.
I have.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had my first time not getting the look was in Montreal. I didn't realize that I was at Starbucks. And then when I got, after I ordered my coffee, I'm like, there's something feel funny. I don't know what that is. And then I realized that they spoke to me the same way they spoke to the people in front of me that weren't Black. And that was different. That was different for me. And then traveling around different countries, the same thing. I wore my Malcolm X hat in Sydney on purpose.
Okay.
Looking around, I'm looking at people like,
Black, y'all.
Black,
y'all. Yeah, bro.
and nobody cared.
You like so?
right. But also there may not, cultural context.
Right,
whatever. But for me, that meant a lot. Like just not getting that, because I'm from the South. It's everywhere.
Yep.
It becomes normalized, and so I think the equivalent in the professional space is you can be seen but not heard, right? So we can see you working in things, but we're not taking your ideas. We're not accepting you as a thought leader, as a leader, and so we're not going to promote you. Why would we promote you? Because we don't see you in that way. We don't see your value, and so it's the preconceived notions that come with being Black, and you can call it different things, right? But I think it's really well illustrated in Malcolm X's letter from Mecca. And so he went to Mecca and he wrote back that when you call somebody black over there, you're really just trying to identify them in contrast to somebody else. So you're saying John, which John? Black John, not white John? Yeah, black
Got
John.
it.
So you know it's either black John or white John. But when you do that in America and you say black John, it comes with a whole different connotation. It comes with all these other things.
Right.
Like the John that's black is different from the John that's white because he has different behaviors, he has different value, he has different, you know,
Perspective.
right, right. And so, and so it all of those things kind of come into play when you look at that, and it's different in every country. I know in Canada, you know, I asked the taxi driver because I was still tripping over how, you know, I wasn't getting a look and I wasn't, and he said, oh, it's not really, well, I guess from his perspective, he said it's more so nationality than race. You know, if you can't speak French or French or not, you know. And then similar things in different countries, you know. Sometimes it's being a certain religion. You know, sometimes it's being a certain gender. But in America, it just happens to be race. And the thing is, we have these biases, and they come into play in the workplace. And so, what BPA can do, and what we plan on doing, is creating these ecosystems for people, where you can let us know what you're facing, and then we can talk to the C-suite. We can talk to, you know, these corporations that normally don't hear your voice. We can put them all in the same room and have these hard conversations. So will it change things? Who knows? Derek Bell, the founder of CRT, he has a theory of the permanency of racism. So, and those tribalistic factors that we use to separate ourselves, that's at the core of it. So we will always distinguish ourselves from each other. If you got 3 kids on a playground, right? 2 of them are going to be best friends, and the other one is going to be, you know, their friends sometimes, but really, you know, at some point they're going to be like, yeah, we don't like his socks, you can't play with us.
What you're saying.
You know? And so it's going to take an intentional feat to get over those base human nature things, right? I got one more thing. I'm talking quickly. Someone said that we are primal creatures with medieval systems and futuristic technology. And so we have these primal Neanderthal minds where we still separate each other based on how we look. Our systems are medieval. We haven't changed them. Systems of incarceration, systems of, you know, how we educate and all these different things. And the gender bias systems and all those things. But our technology is wild. It's wild. Now we can talk to somebody from the other side of the world like that. So how can we maintain a biased mindset if we can literally ask that person, you know, who they are, right? But we don't really implement those things in that way because we still have our primal thoughts.
That's interesting. I've got an off-tick question. It seems like you're a very well-read individual. What's your favorite quote or quote you live by?
Oh man. I guess the one that comes to mind, there's 2 that come to mind, but one of them is incomplete. The one that's complete is Frederick Douglass said, that's a tough one.
That's all good.
That's so hard.
It's all good.
The incomplete one is by Khalil Gibran. He's my favorite poet.
Okay.
And he says, the strongest souls are seared with scars. You know, and to me, that really represents like the kids I used to work with in foster care. They were the strongest souls, but they had so many scars. You know, Oh, and then Frederick Douglass is, power concedes nothing without a demand. It never has and it never will.
Beautiful.
So, okay, I got my own question, right?
So,
let's talk work-life balance, right? So, just like we've been talking about, you got a lot of different roles. You do, you know, you run a consultancy, you lead all these different nonprofits, right? And then like you still prioritize, you know, your commitment to social justice and community empowerment. Like, How are you able to balance all that? Like, I'm sure, you know, you have relationships, you have family, you know, how are you able to do all these different things? There's all these different moving parts. And hell, how do you maintain your sanity with all of this? Like, what do you do? Like, how do you cope? Do you hit the gym? Like, do you meditate? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, man, hitting the gym is getting harder as I get older, man. I'll tell you that. Hitting the court is getting harder.
Man.
I'm gonna tell you, I don't know if y'all hoop, man, but
I tore my Achilles.
Hey, my arches, bro.
Yeah. Steph Curry changed the game.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna tell you that, man. Now you got to guard the 3-point line.
Yeah.
Right. You used to guard it with your toes. Now
Right.
You got to guard. You got to have it behind you.
Right.
Exactly.
You know, so it's different, man. I got to run out on them young dudes, and then it's different.
Nah.
Then they run by me, and I'm like,
Right.
He said, "Help, pick up."
Yeah, help.
I gotta go behind the pick now. I ain't, you know, all that.
It's different, man. It's different. So, but yeah, I try to get out when I can and do those types of things, man. But also, I love what I do. Like I said, you know, I have a passion for helping people, and so it doesn't feel like work all the time. I could talk about it all day. You know, usually, if I need a break, I take a break, and that's part of, I guess, the benefit of being self-employed too, is having the control over your time.
Yeah.
And so, if I need a break, I take a break. But I do make time to, you know, get to the gym and talk to loved ones, and my family's here in Austin, and that helps too.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I can spend time and do things like that.
Yeah.
My aunts, cousins, whatever. So yeah, it's, you know, I think having the biggest piece, and I don't want to pretend as if this is not an advantage, you know, is having my own time and controlling my own time.
Yeah, that's big. That's very important. And as we talk about BPA, you know, we've talked about, you know, the major focus in primary, trying to figure out what is the major purpose that drives people, quote unquote, away from Austin, Black specifically. What are the future aspirations for BPA? What do you desire for that organization to become? What are you looking for to advocate for? What are you focusing?
I hope BPA becomes as large as it can be, and it provides a space for collaboration and learning. We are an education organization. We are, you know, we want to teach people skills. We want to provide a place where people feel comfortable, like home.
Right.
A lot of people aren't from here, but you still should be able to feel like it's home.
Yeah.
And so I want it to grow as big as possible and have as many people as possible engaged and active, and, you know, feeling like they belong. There are a few different factors that are driving people away, but I think, you know, belonging is definitely at the top. You know, a lot of us know that. I met with somebody for coffee a few months back, and she moved here, and she does not feel the lack of belonging because she moved with her family. And so she has her ecosystem, her pod, and so I think if we all have these groups and networks and pods that are really close knit, you know, we can all feel comfortable here.
Yeah.
How can people get in contact with either you, BPA? So, like, say, hey, I want to join, I want to participate. How do people do that?
Yeah, you can email us at connect@bpaofaustin.org. That's our email for anyone who wants to, you know, join, interested in events. We're really active on IG. And so BPA of Austin is our IG handle. And for me, president@bpaofaustin.org if you want to reach me.
Awesome.
Okay. So I was gonna say, so I know we did the Q&A, right?
Yeah.
So let's kind of switch gears a little bit. Let's go ahead and move on to the Let's move on to the So let's hit you with a few rapid fire questions and get your opinions on a few different things.
Cool.
Right.
Let's go.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is this or that. So basically, you would choose one or the other for us. So in your advocacy work, did you yourself draw from grassroots community or organization or policy level initiatives?
I got to choose one.
This or that.
Choose one.
This or that.
Now we stumped some
grassroots.
people, so yeah.
I would say grassroots. You know,
Grassroots.
grassroots inform the policy. Policy by itself can't stand, not in a way that's equitable to everyone. Grassroots usually speaks for those who are disempowered.
Yes.
So grassroots.
Gotcha. Okay, so next, when addressing systemic issues, are we talking about incremental changes within the system or radical change, tearing everything down and rebuilding from scratch?
Incremental. Someone once told me that change happens in 2 standard deviations. So basically really small increments at a time. Additionally, I mentioned Derek Bell before, but he also had a theory of racial retrenchment. So as we make progress, I think of it like tides. You know, if you pay attention, like the tide doesn't just come in and keep coming in. It pulls back and it comes in a little more, pulls back. And so as we make progress, at some point you have this period of retrenchment where you go back and then you come up again and then we get pushed back. We're in a period of retrenchment now. You have Roe v. Wade being overturned. You have, you know, threats to other policies and things that affect Black people. DEI, SB 17 at the state level, you know, removing all funding for DEI programs. I actually was just with UT's BSA last night and talking about their needs. So, yeah, incremental.
Wow. In your consulting work, do you prefer tackling broad over challenging tasks, or do you want to focus specifically on target initiatives?
Target. I think target.
Target.
Yeah, I think target. The impact is normally greater. With the broad things, you can probably execute your output, which you're trying to get, but the outcome, like the overall like impact, may not be as big. But if you have a very targeted thing, you can probably wipe out that part of an unjust system. You know, at least for that localized environment.
Gotcha. Okay. So next one.
Yeah.
As a leader, right? Do you prioritize consensus building or collaboration, or decisive direct action?
Oh man, I'm a decisive direct action person, but as a leader, consensus building. Because there's a diversity of thought out there, and so we have to take everything into account. You know, everybody's different. Even if you know, I've seen advocates that don't agree, even though you would think you couldn't tell them apart.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Yeah.
But there's a diversity of thought and diversity of experience, and I think all of that should be honored in the process.
That's interesting, and that's true. When it comes to promoting diversity and inclusion in the workplace, right? Do you prefer emphasis on top-down organizations or bottom-up cultural shifts?
Oh, top-down.
Top-down.
Yeah, when promoting diversity and inclusion, absolutely top-down.
Okay.
Yeah, you have to change things on a policy level, and sometimes radically, in order to see real change. Like, you may be, you know, we celebrate Black History Month, you put up a few posters or send a memo or something, but are you willing to change your policies to reflect the fact that family leave might include my auntie that raised me,
Right.
or my big mama,
Right.
you know,
Right. And them, my big mama and them.
them,
Yeah.
and them, NEM, yeah, because the NEMs,
Yeah.
that's
the
my nuclear family,
right.
and not just the the nuclear family. The NEMs are mine, and it's a cultural thing with us as well. And so, are you willing to change your policies to reflect those cultural differences, right? And other holidays too, you know, that people celebrate, Ramadan and things of that nature. Are you willing to change to, you know, from the top down?
I like it.
Got it. Okay, so next one. Let's talk about the man in me, right? So with the man in me, do you prefer individualized mentorship and support, or like community-wide education and awareness campaigns?
Man, I'm following the lead of Isaac Rowe, and that man has done magic.
Shout
and
out.
The individual impact that he's made with each of those gentlemen, you know, has been powerful. So that's what I right now, that's my example.
Individual.
Is that individual.
I like it. Let's shift over to Black professionals. Do you advocate for individual career advancement strategies or collective advocacy for system changes?
Because we need both, but I gotta pick one, right? I would say collective in this case, because if you have a practice that is preventing Black professionals from advancing, then I mean, even if you have that individual and he gains all the skills, let's say you learn to code in different languages, and you know you're at the top of your game as far as skills, you get all this extra education and all this, they still may not promote you. The system doesn't change. So the system remains a barrier, and systems, what they do is they uphold themselves. So if you don't do anything, of course the system's gonna stay there. If you do something, it's gonna try to stay there as much as it can, right? So it takes a Herculean effort to knock down this system. And I you know, myself, I think about like a system as like a Roman temple or something, right? And I think of, you know, Samson, when he's tied to the pillars. You have to break. It takes an incredible superhuman effort to break down these systems, because they just want to stand no matter what.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Gotcha. Okay, so I was gonna say, so that concludes that segment. So I was gonna say, let's go ahead and do the last question of the night.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. So I don't know if Saint
he
gave you the heads up on this.
You got to hang out with us. You've seen what we are about. And you know that the 2-hour lunch break, we're all about learning and growing and understanding more about what the community of Austin and the general population has to offer and provide, especially for the black and brown community. With that being said, is there anyone that you think should join us here on the 2-hour lunch break? But before you answer, Before you answer, it's got to be somebody that you can get in contact with today or tonight, and immediately connect us with. Who are those who's that one person or people that you would say?
So you preface me with this, so I have a list.
Okay, go for it. Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
I would say Isaac Rowe. I brought him up.
Shout out to Isaac.
He has to sit in the chair, man. He's done, and he's a humble dude, humble dude. So I want him to open up.
Tell
absolutely. Everybody what he's done.
Yeah,
you know, he deserves that exposure. Kimberly Holiday, who's the first black woman council member of Pflugerville.
Oh, wonderful. Okay. Wonderful.
She used to sit in the chair. Kimberly Holiday has a story that goes beyond politics and a heart of gold. Yeah. So, absolutely. Then, China Smith, who is the director and founder of Ballet Afrique.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
I happened to be in a Nutcracker this year, so I was up there dancing. Man, I don't dance.
Okay, right.
I don't do that.
Hey, I think I saw that on your IG.
Did you make it work?
I was, you know, man, it was like 1920s, you know, swing dance.
That is great, man.
It was tough, but they were all so amazing, and they were all so supportive. So and what she does for the kids, she's been doing it for about 16 years. I think her 16th anniversary is this April, and so March. And so what she's doing for the kids is incredible, man. Kids have gone on to UT and, you know, different schools dancing, and they come back and they teach. And it's just an amazing thing. And then also Ebony Trice with Mission Accomplished.
Shout out to him. Okay.
Yeah, Ebony Trice does incredible work serving the unhoused community, and she's the person who's helped me shape my language around the unhoused. Okay. And not saying homeless to refer to a person. But saying unhoused, because homelessness is a conditional state. It's a temporary state.
Definitely temporary.
It's not a person. Right. They are currently unhoused, right? But she does a lot of supportive practices and initiatives to help the unhoused. Her laundry service is the most popular. You know, so doing laundry services, you know, mobile. She has a mobile laundry service that bounces around from place to place. But an incredibly powerful speaker. I think she should definitely be here as well.
Awesome.
So I was gonna say, man, before we wrap up, let's plug your social media handles again. Where can everybody find BPA, and where can everybody find you?
Right. Yeah. BPA, connect at BPA of Austin. Connect at BPA of Austin.org is the email. Yeah.
Got it.
And me is president at BPA of Austin.org. And the IG for BPA is BPA of Austin. And my IG handle is Mr._Byrd, BYRD.
Wonderful. And that wraps up another edition of the 2 Hour Lunch Break podcast. Once again, we want to give a special shout out to the president of BPA, Mr. Eric Byrd, for joining us and taking the time. Shout out to the production behind the boards, Cafe Yodo. Also, want to give a special shout out to Dawa Studios here on home base. All episodes of the 2 Hour Lunch Break podcast can be found on all streaming platforms. That is right. IG, you can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Twitter. I'm not saying X, it's Twitter.
Right.
All right. But definitely make sure that you follow us at on IG at 2HLB Pod and on Twitter at the 2 Hour Lunch. We'll check y'all next time. We out.
Yeah.
And it's coming home to Texas. It's coming home all the way to Austin, Texas, baby.